It's a fun time for pro wrestling, and it is a part of pop culture. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case now, but I mean, revenues are higher than ever. So while it may be true that there are fewer people watching wrestling than there were back then, it does feel like it's a much more profitable time. But there are some holes, some opportunities, some room for improvement. Like as you and I are recording this, Eric, we're home stretching it for a big show at Arthur Ashe for AEW. And when they first ran that stadium 2 years ago, man, they sold it out in minutes, as I recall.
20,000 tickets in 20 minutes.
It was unbelievable. And as we're recording now, I think they've sold less than 6,000 tickets for that show.
And they've scaled it down to 12,000. So they recognize that they're not selling tickets like they were. So they cut the scale down to a little more than half, and they've only sold half of those tickets. And that show's about 6 or 8 days away.
Even this Wednesday show. So the show that'll air 2 days from now, as folks are listening to this, when I last saw, there were around 1,800 tickets sold for that, and that's not a house show. That's not a live event. This is a live television show, the A show, if you will, Dynamite, and there's a lag in ticket sales, and it feels like it's trending down. But it's hard for me to reconcile that, Eric. And I know you're going to have a reason to poke holes in that, but when we go from 81,035 paying fans on a Sunday, and then we come home to like the spiritual home of AEW and certainly StarCast and All In and all that stuff, we're at the Now Arena on Wednesday and we've got like 3,000 tickets. I don't know how to fix that. I can't make it make sense. Like, clearly,
it's not that hard, Conrad.
Talk me through it.
I've been talking you through it for the last year and a half. And every time I do, it's like, oh, he's the old man screaming at the clouds. Blah, blah, blah. He's just fucking jealous because Tony won't hire him. First of all, I wouldn't take a job in AEW right now. Well, I won't say for any amount of money because we all know I'm a whore. But realistically, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that clown car. And the reason for that is because there is a failure to recognize what's wrong. It's simple. It's story, and it's legitimate story, not what a wrestling fan thinks is a story, or unfortunately, what a lot of the talent in the ring refer to as a story. Just because you've wrestled in the past and you have quote unquote history does not mean you have a story. Story is a well-defined arc with plot points that happen along the way in a very precise manner so that they peak at certain points within that arc and they dovetail into other stories within the context of wrestling that are going on. That's what WWE is doing. It's the schematic is right in front of you. It's the inability to recognize it that is what's causing this issue. I've been saying it for a year and a half. When I first started saying it is, I think it was in November, almost 2 years ago now. It's there. The story there has to be story. That has to be the focus. It can't be dream matches, hardcore, just bleed all over the fucking place, random matches thrown together. There needs to be character development and evolution. There needs to be great story. And I said a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, if they continue to ignore that, AEW ratings are going to become flat and then deteriorate. That was almost 2 years ago. What are the ratings doing now? They're flat and they're deteriorating. If you go, Brandon Thurston posted a really interesting graphic earlier this week that talks about AEW's ticket sales. And I'll do a poor job recapping it, but I think summarizing it, if you go back and you look at all of the markets where AEW has been more than once over the course of 2 years, every one of them, there's been a deterioration in ticket sales. Some of it very significant. Arthur Ashe, probably the most significant at this point. You go from 20,000 down to about 6,000 a week before the show, and you've already scaled it down to 12. If that doesn't tell you that you're not satisfying, not only you're not building new audience, which is absolutely critical in a television show, and it's absolutely critical in a live event business. If at the very least, hold on to your audience, but they're losing them. They, meaning AEW, is losing audience in significant quantities, while at the same time, WWE is selling out live events, selling out their television shows, putting 12,000 people in for a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown. And Tony Khan put in, what, 3,800 for Dynamite in Chicago? Didn't sell it out after coming off of Wembley. It's not just me screaming at the clouds. It's my perspective based on 30 some odd years of experience and both success and failure. And Tony's refusing to look at it. And until he does, he's going to experience, you just keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and you're going to get the same results over and over and over again. And you can convince yourself all you want that you're a great storyteller or a great television producer, but it's not showing up on screen, and it's not showing up at the gate, and it's not showing up anywhere else. Yeah, Wembley was a fantastic feather in Tony's cap, but that's all that it was. And you laughed at me last week when I said, if they go back, maybe it was you, maybe it was somebody else, but I made the comment, yeah, they did $81,000. They should be, blowing out their shoulders, patting each other and themselves at the back for doing so, because they deserve it. But if they go back next year, they'll be lucky to hit 40 or 50,000. Not that 40 or 50,000 is a bad number, but a 30 or 40% drop is a bad number. It's just not, it's not working. And you can spin it, because not you, but the collective we spin it all we want because we like Tony and he's a swell guy. He does good things for people. And those are all things that are true, that I believe. I don't really know the man that well, but I know some of the things that he's done, as we all do. But it's not working.